Hey, Phil.
Hey, Senda.
You want to talk about our 4th anniversary of podcasting?
Wow, 4 years already? Wait, I'm going to do some quick math here.
Okay.
So at 15 minutes a show.
Wait a minute.
Then 200 episodes.
No.
That comes out to... What?
I mean, let me just put it to you this way. If you say 15 minutes a show, are you supposed to be calculating outtakes or actual show length?
No. When we started the show, we said it was going to be a short form podcast. 15 minutes a show.
No. Okay. So
it's not that?
No, take that number and multiply by about 3.
Yikes. And you've edited all of those? Yikes. And welcome to the 200th episode of Pandas Talking Games. I'm your host who keeps making the show longer and longer, Phil.
And I am your other host who has to keep editing the show, Senda.
So this is our 200th episode, which unofficially marks the 4th season of the show, marks our 4th year of the completion of our 4th year of podcasting. The actual date of the first recording of the first show is actually sometime like in March, but we don't actually use calendars for tracking this. We
just go by numbers.
Primarily track it from show number. So
yeah.
200 is the end of our 4th season and the beginning of our 5th season. So that's cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually 200 is also a pretty big landmark. Not a lot of podcasts hit 200.
Yeah, no. I mean, my other podcast still hasn't, but that's because we're bi-weekly because it's been
you're
going
bi-weekly.
longer.
This is weekly.
Yeah.
But you guys have been around at longer than She's Super Geek is older.
Yes.
Calendar wise than Pandas.
Yeah. By about a year. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, as podcasts go, it's hard to get to
big.
200 episodes.
Yeah, it's big. It's big.
Which means that we're really good at doing the same thing over and over. And I mean, no kidding. To put this in perspective, for 200 weeks.
Yes.
Every week. I write a show.
Yes. And every week I edit a show.
And every week we record a show. We skip a week here and there.
Yep, for conventions.
Not by much.
Yep.
Not even. For conventions, we almost always cover up because we double up some weeks.
Those are the only weeks that we don't actively record or
exactly.
edit,
but
right?
We've already put one in the can kind of thing.
Yep.
We also, in case you are thinking we are super professional, we don't have a backlog of shows.
There's no backlog, you guys.
This show is, in manufacturing terms, this show is delivered just in time.
Yes. This is a recorded on demand show.
Yeah, I mean, I pick a topic on Monday.
Yep.
I write the show notes on Friday.
Yep.
We record on the following Monday.
Yep.
You start editing almost immediately after the show. You start that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep. And post the show by Sunday at the latest.
Yep.
And we don't
stop. Yeah.
Conventions, illnesses have only once or twice stopped us. Pandemic has not stopped us.
Yeah, I know it's handy that we were already recording remotely and we just didn't have to adjust anything.
Pretty good at that. Anyway, that's 200
200 is big. It's big. Anyway, this all wouldn't be possible, of course, without all the great topics that y'all have been giving us over the years, because otherwise we would literally not have anything to talk about. Because I feel like you wouldn't have listened to us talk about 200 episodes of the Ditch Lilies.
I think some of them would have.
200 episodes, though? I mean, they stuck with us through a couple, but 200? Anyway, so we also want to thank all of you for being part of the show, for being part of what makes the show possible, and for contributing your questions and suggestions that we use to keep the show going and keep everything interesting and fresh and have cool things to talk about, right? So tonight, our plan is we're going to answer a little bitty short question. We're going to do it real fast. And then we're going to look back on our favorite episodes from this year. And then we're going to look forward to what season 5 might look like. So, Phil, why don't you tell us our question for the night?
Sure. My co-host on the Misdirected Mark, GM Gerrymander, emailed us and asked, can you talk about campaign GM stress versus the can I run this adventure in under 4 hours one-shot GM stress? So, yeah, let's talk about the stress of running games, because that's a thing. And before we dive too deep into it, we do need to acknowledge that stress itself is not bad in moderation.
Right. In moderation is the key, right? Light to moderate amounts of stress can help you as a GM create focus and motivation to be on top of things and be aware. But above that, it's not healthy, or it can be unhealthy, and it can be not fun to feel really stressed out about that stuff. And if it's not fun or enjoyable to GM because it's too stressful, it can make you lose interest in running the game, right?
Yeah. And how much stress is too much is actually quite relative. It has everything to do with our own individual responses to stress.
Right. So there are some people who can manage really large amounts of stress and it doesn't even faze them, right? So, but other people can have very strong physical reactions to small amounts of stress. I have weird physical reactions to stress, and it stinks. And it's something that I have to be very aware of, right? So it's important in general to be aware of your stress limits and how you cope with them and what is still in the comfortable range for you.
Yeah, we're by no means a therapy podcast, but very much how you like. But we both go to therapy for a long time. So how you deal with stress is actually a big deal, right? Like, I mean, we could talk about our own ways of coping, but that is a thing that's going to be specific to you, how you cope with your stress and how much stress is too much stress.
Yep.
So as Jerry acknowledged, there are actually different types of stresses when it comes to the types of games that you're running.
Right. So in one-shots, we're usually mostly talking about conventions. So the common kinds of stress that you would encounter are things like time constraints and time management, which, you're trying to run your game within a fixed time frame. So trying to hit all of your points and manage it, in that time frame. You are probably or often running this game for strangers or people that you don't know. So you also have stress in terms of quickly picking up how to read those people at your table, make educated guesses on how to function with that group, right? You might have performance anxieties, right? Making sure that your one shot is a good experience for everyone because you only have this one opportunity to have that moment. And boy, I'm familiar with that one because when I am doing a one shot at a convention, not only am I probably promoting some podcasts, I might also be promoting games, right? So it being a good experience for the people at my table is like really important. And then there's also, and this is just how conventions work, right? Environmental stressors, right? So you might be running this in a crowded space. The noise level may be high or difficult to talk through or around. It might be cold or way too hot because the temperature's never right in those big rooms, right? And like maybe the chairs might be awful. The table might be the wrong shape or like really tippy or like might have a table leg right where your knee is, right? Like they're just...
I mean, there's lack of food, lack of sleep,
lack of water,
right? Like those things, like
hangovers, depending.
I mean, if you do that at a con, people, I don't, but people have.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about those things about like prepping like for your environment for cons. We've talked about that before, but yeah, those are definitely stressful things. Yeah. Now, when we talk about campaigns, our stresses, not that we can't have any of the ones that you've mentioned, but normally the stresses that we have in campaigns are along the lines of originality, keeping it interesting, keeping it going, right? Like our job in GMing a campaign is to kind of keep this game going over time. And, that means that we have to come up with new content. We have to make sure that, we're not running the same supervillain encounters over and over, right? That our villains are unique, and that, we're keeping everybody's interest level session after session and all of that. So that can definitely be stressful. Real life is actually another stress that comes into the game.
Yeah.
Because you're playing on a regular basis and because you're not at a convention, because when you're at a convention, typically, for most people, you are separated from most of your responsibilities. Right now, some people bring their kids and some people are on call for work. But for a lot of us, when we go to a convention, we are actually like in a separate world. Like we are free from most of the things that we are responsible for. But when we run campaigns, like after work or on the weekends, like our real lives are very much a part of what happens when we get to the table. And so work stresses, finance, relationship issues, like those are all stresses on either the GM or members of the group, those kinds of things. The next one, which is always a challenge with prolonged campaigns, is coordination and scheduling. Like there are times where you hit all your games on schedule, and then there's times where all of a sudden somebody's sick, somebody has to take a work trip, somebody's got a family event, and like all of a sudden your whole schedule for the campaign is jumbled and you haven't played in like a few sessions. And then, how do I keep this game together if we're all we haven't played for a while, right? That can be very stressful. And then lastly would be interpersonal conflict. This is one I'm actually very fortunate I don't have anymore in any of my campaigns. But when you have the same group of people continuously interacting with each other, sometimes people rub each other the wrong way. And because you're playing over and over and over, eventually that friction can actually cause something to erupt in the game or outside of the game. And that can also be very stressful. Like I said, I am very fortunate. All of my groups, and I have 3, are lovely. Like it is the one stress I do not have currently running games.
It is a stress that I no longer have, and I am so appreciative to not. Right?
Yep.
Like done that. Cool. Anyway, the important thing about knowing what these stresses are or can be is to understand which of them sound like the things that are manageable to you versus which ones might feel a little bit not manageable, right? So like you might be fine working under pressure for a few sessions in a convention weekend, but like dread having to invest long term in keeping the game going.
Yeah, conversely, you might be fine with keeping a longer, like all the activities to keep a longer game going, but you don't like the stress of being put on the spot to run a one shot.
Yeah.
And lastly, you could just be fine with either of these, right? Like maybe neither one of these is better or worse for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where we get into just like speaking personally. For me, I'm much more comfortable with one shots because I haven't always had really good luck with campaigns, honestly, right? Especially I've every group but my current group has ended in some sort of interpersonal implosion. And I'm not great with dealing with interpersonal conflict. It's something that we were just talking about how we're all in therapy earlier. Like, I'm working on that, right? But like, I don't need conflict interpersonally in my game group, which is supposed to be that thing that is feeding me back spoons, right? So I haven't always had really good luck with campaigns. And while I have run a couple of campaigns and then enjoyed them, I've also run so many campaigns that completely flopped because I was trying to run campaigns in a way that didn't actually work to me. And I was trying to prep them differently, the way that it seemed like you were supposed to prep campaigns. And so I've definitely learned that like the prep style that I approach a campaign with and the type of game that I choose to run as a campaign will make a really big difference about whether a campaign is necessarily successful for me or not. Right. So there are very specific parameters for me to run a multi-session game. If there's too much prep work and I feel overwhelmed or stressed out by like the ongoing commitment of it, or if I feel like I am doing a ton of planning and I'm over planning and then I stress out in the session because I can't remember because I have too much content planned because I tried to plan for the next 6 sessions or whatever, like those are all things I've done and learned that I don't enjoy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So Phil, where do you fall on that continuum?
Yeah, I mean, no surprise, right? I'm actually far more comfortable with campaigns.
Yeah. I know this question shouldn't come as a shock considering the basis of this podcast.
No, right? It shouldn't. 4 years later, should be no shock. I'm more comfortable with campaigns. Probably because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, coordination, managing people and schedules and stuff is actually part of my day job, right? So like I am perfectly well equipped to kind of keep that hustle going, right? Like I can handle all that. But the other thing is most of my gaming for the last 40 years has been in campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have had the fortune of having face-to-face groups with different people, but like at various times in my life since the 80s, right? Like I've always had a game group and I've always been the GM and it's always been my job to run campaigns. So I'm very comfortable with the parts of like keeping it fresh, keeping it going. I have learned over time to create space in my campaign to let people vent their personal lives. I'm very good at knowing when the schedule's not going to work and not sweat it. Right? I used to be very anxious about that. Now I'm like very much like it's cool. We'll all be back together. So I guess the best way to put it is I'm playing this as the long game, right? I'm not rushing to get 6 sessions in the next 5 weeks or whatever. Like we'll get what we get. And we'll enjoy it while we're at the table and we'll have a good time. But I've always had my preference has always been campaigns. I have learned to run one-shots, but like 10 or so years ago, I had to actually start working on that. And I am happy to run one-shots when we go to conventions, right? It is a thing that I'm totally comfortable with, and I'm happy to do it when we go out to conventions, especially to meet people as a way of meeting people or as a way of showing off our games and things like that. I really enjoy that. It's never my preference. My preference is to play with people over and over. I guess the best way to put it is I hate bars. I love restaurants.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like I want to sit down and have a full meal with you, right? I don't want to get a drink with you at a bar where it's loud and noisy and it's hard to hear you. I want to sit down at a restaurant and I want to have like a full meal and really get to know everybody at the table.
I mean, that's fair. That makes it sound like what I do is horrible.
It's not. Listen,
it's just a different skill set.
One shots to me have always been fascinating. I think it's great because campaigns are not how some new people come into the hobby through campaigns. Lots of new people come into the hobby by or try different games by hitting a one shot at a convention or something.
Yep.
One shots are fantastic, right? It's always been like I didn't come up in the convention scene. I didn't live anywhere where there was access to conventions. You just had a gaming group and you played games.
Yeah.
That's where my comfort zone is.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So cool. So then this is also episode 200, right? So as we do every year on our 50 and 100th episodes, we're going to look back at episodes we really enjoyed from the past year. So for this section, we're going to be talking about episodes 151 through 199. So let's go. We're just going to go back and forth for our favorite episodes. We share some of them, right? We're going to name the episode and why we enjoyed it.
Yeah. The first one we both picked.
Yes. Yep.
So the first one is episode 151, which was the first episode of season 4.
Yep.
Which I personally love the title because you came up with the title for this.
Well, thank you.
Which is Something Kissy This Way Comes, which was about romance and gaming.
Yes. And I specifically liked our discussion on consent and boundaries and expectations, right? Like that's why I called this one out. I mean, I say that, but I'm also like I love playing romancing games. So
right, but I think the takeaway from that episode is there is a way to do it in a very consent forward manner.
Yeah.
And in fact, some of the things from that episode also got blended into how we run romance in the Ditch Lilies.
It is. It was definitely our initial foray into that. And then when we talked about how we designed Ditch Lilies to try and take all of that stuff into account, I think that's an interesting continuation of that conversation. And heck, then we talked about triangles, and I think we referred back to a lot of the same things. So yeah, for sure.
So our next one, because we're going to do them in chronological order, the next favorite episode is on your list.
It is. And it was 168, The Name's Bond. And that episode is about character bonds and inserting them into games that they weren't mechanically in to begin with. It also had a beefness level event in the outtakes, which I appreciated because I always have to call out anytime I can make Phil totally lose it in the middle of a sentence and start laughing.
It is not a common occurrence.
It's happened
about once a season.
I think it's happened 2 to 3 times in the 4 years we've been recording. Yeah.
Yeah, where I totally just utterly lose it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
you lose it all the time.
I lose it all the time.
I'm normally
You're the straight man.
Yeah, which has its own level of irony right there.
It really does. It's pretty funny. Anyway, yes. So that's the one I was going to call out. That, and I mean, character bonds. How can we go wrong? I love character bonds. Again, when we talk about relationships, romance, etc., character bonds. So yes. Yeah.
Our next one is number 2 on my list and number 3 on yours.
Yes.
So do you mind if I mention it?
Yep, you should talk about it.
It's actually 3 episodes.
Yes.
It is episodes 183 through 185, which was our series on co-GMing.
Yep.
Which is an experiment that's going to get delayed.
Yeah.
Right? We were
because there's no conventions.
We were prepared to do this at an upcoming convention, but now we have no upcoming conventions.
There are no upcoming conventions.
We will actually have to, at a time when conventions become possible again, actually have to go and re-listen to these episodes and figure this out.
Remember what we actually agreed to, yes.
On a good note, we recorded it,
handily,
so we can do that. But I did actually like those because co-jamming is not a thing that often gets talked about. And I really liked our approach to it, which was a negotiation style of kind of understanding a number of parameters that take place in co-GMing, right? So handoffs and who's going to be, who's going to lead, who's going to support, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we set a lot of expectations, which I think is one of those keys for co-GMing. And I hope that, I know that it was very cool and useful for me to talk through it in a very explicit way, because I think that a part of the reason people have trouble with co-GMing is because they just jump into it and two people may have different assumptions about how the stuff is going to get split up or passed back and forth. And so I hope it was useful for other people and that we sat down and explicitly discussed each thing and how we were going to manage it.
Lastly, the last one on my list was episode 190, which was pretty recent.
Yeah.
Which was transactional complications. I really dug this episode because, again, these things always come to us as a question from one of you all, and just like this one did, but it really was a fun look at a mechanic that we don't talk about enough in games, right? It's a fantastic mechanic, transactional complications, right? Things that make your life more complicated. And then coming at it from the GM and player perspective about how to, as a GM, best utilize the transactional complication, and as a player, how to lean into it, was actually a lot of fun. I really dug it. That is the kind of mechanical nerddom that I often take over to misdirected Mark, but I had a lot of fun doing on the show.
To be clear,
with you.
The name of that episode is actually Toss a Fate Point to Your Transactional Complications.
Correct. Yes. Sorry. The long. I will say this: in 4 years, I have always enjoyed the effort you put into naming the episodes. That is so. In the division of labor, that is not a thing I do. Right. I'm like episode 190 transactional complication. Check, and then I go and write the script for the episode. But it's you who actually makes the titles interesting. So when you see them on your when you see them on your podcatcher,
you have no idea what we're going to talk about. Like Who Framed Senior Rabbit, and Too Much Plan, Bit More Plan.
Correct.
What else was really good this year? Too Fast, Too Cliche.
I mean, Something Kissy This Way Comes was my favorite title for the year, right?
Going the social distance, transitioning to online play, right? Make dungeons sexy again. We had a number of fun grab bag names: Pumpkin Spice Grab Bag, September Grab Bag, Clues. Blues Clues.
Anyway, keeping us moving along. So where do we go from here, right? What does season 5 look like?
Where do we go?
Now, normally, and part of picking out those episodes is that I go through the past season's episodes to kind of see what episodes we've done. So last year we did a lot of grab bag episodes.
We did.
Grab bag episodes are almost always an indication that one or both of us are traveling, because it has to do with the fact that we've jumbled up our normal recording schedule, and a grab bag is the fastest way for us to do an episode, which is just 3 short topics. We don't even write a script for them. We basically just throw the questions in and we wing it. And I say 3 because if you're listening and you're like, wait, but some of those grab bags have only had 2 questions. It's because we went long and we didn't do the third question.
And we didn't get to the third question.
Right. I put 3 questions in. We don't always
get to the 3 questions, and we've gotten smarter now. We don't say that we're going to do 3 questions anymore at the beginning.
Correct. We are smart. So anyway, yeah, grab bags are almost always an indication that we are traveling, which almost always means we are on our way to a convention.
Yeah, which means we're probably going to see fewer grab bag episodes for the time being, because convention going doesn't really look like it's going to be a part of 2020, or like even if it kind of picks back up again, I'm not sure it's going to be a part of 2020 for either of us, right? It's possible, depending on how things go, that maybe we're looking at like Metatopia, but that's kind of about as early as I see it. That's in November.
Yeah, I mean, Origins not looking,
feeling it. Yeah, no.
And we weren't planning on Gen Con, which means that the next earliest one is QCC.
Right, which is September.
Have to see a lot of how things are going.
Yeah, I don't know about it. Yeah, I'm not going to commit.
Yeah. Okay, so this year we did a really nice mix of campaign and one-shot episodes along with our 2-topic discussions. And I think that this season you're going to see a lot more of that, right? I think this is our bread and butter. It's the format that you're all the most used to. It's the one that I default to when I'm starting to lay out an episode.
Yep.
So I would say pretty comfortably you are going to see a lot more of these types of episodes.
Yeah. We're probably going to pick up some more design-based episodes as we look at the games that we're working on again, right? So the thing that's kind of happened is there's a pandemic. So we're not doing a ton of designing right now. We've held, is it okay if I say this? We've held our anticipated Turning Point Kickstarter is on hold for the moment, right?
Right. And a lot of this has to do with twofold, right? One has to do with just sheer mental health.
Yes.
Right? Like in order to design, you have to be in a certain headspace.
You have to feel secure enough that you can give your energy to creative endeavors instead of feeling like you need to spend all of your energy on survival, right?
Correct. And so financial instabilities, pandemic, things like that. I mean, like I'm in New York, that has like, even though it's Western New York, that still has its own, its own level of
stress.
Of danger.
Yeah.
While my job has not encountered any problems, my job has become even more busy because of the pandemic, right? So that has, like, what you're saying is exactly correct. Like, you have to be in a certain place to have enough energy to put towards creative endeavors. Those things, we haven't had that energy. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to running Encoded and things like this, that's a nice to have for us.
Yeah.
Like none of us at Encoded are making our living wage on that company. So we are all focusing on our own self-care and on our own, like, taking care of our families, our houses, our friends. So we'll eventually, like you said, come around on this and we'll kick back up into design. Like we have 3 games in various states of construction.
Yeah.
They're going to come back, right? Like, and Turning Point will come back when it's time. I don't want to put a Kickstarter out in the world when people are, worrying about, paychecks and things like that.
There's just way more important things right now. And I would feel horrible, since, like, especially given that, like, this isn't money that you or I need to live. Right?
No.
Like, so like, I don't feel like now is the time to be asking people for money to support an entertainment thing. Like, if it was a situation where, like, this was our livelihood, then I would absolutely go ahead and do it, but it's not. Right?
Correct. It isn't. So we don't need to. We don't need to do.
We don't need to pull. We don't need to pull money from other endeavors that are people's livelihoods. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people have less money, like, I don't want people to not put money somewhere else for people who need it in order to support a thing that we're making when we can just launch it later.
Yeah. We can just wait.
We can do that.
We can just wait. It's fine.
Which goes the long way around this is once we start designing again, it is likely we'll do some more design.
Yeah, you'll start hearing some design stuff again. For sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess the best way to say this is that this coming season should probably sound a lot like this past season, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Right? Like, I enjoyed this season a whole bunch. I had a lot of fun with it. And so I'm looking forward to just, doing more of this and getting more ideas from everyone out there. Also, now that we're 200 episodes in, I'm also not afraid to grab a season 1 episode and
remake it. Yeah, we could do that too, because it's been 4 years.
Exactly. Not everyone's listened all along the way.
Not everyone's listened along the way. B, our opinions have inevitably adjusted and changed and grown. I mean, because all of these episodes are snapshots in time of our current thought process on gaming. I'm sure that it's evolved. Certainly our safety thoughts, everything about that has evolved. Anyway.
Yep.
Carrying.
So at some point, we may see a Redux episode where I pull one out from like early season 1 and be like, "Cool, we're doing this. We're doing this topic all over again."
Okay, but all right, but those were all 15-minute episodes, so like.
But now I can do them in the size that they need to be done. And when we talk about dredging up old episodes to redo, that must be a sign that we are ready to end the show. And in order to do that, to get to the closing space, we must first move through the plug another show space. Senda, what show can we plug?
Well, on Bone, Stone, and Obsidian, Wayne and Robert take monthly deep dives into the Dark Sun setting and discuss it across all the editions of D&D. Now you may move forward past the closing space and collect $200.
Awesome. Say, Senda, where can people reach us on the internet?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark forums, or you can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com. And Phil, once they find us in one of those places, what can I do with that information?
Please send us your topics. As we said at the start of the show, your topics are the thing that make this show go. There's 200 episodes because you are out there sending us topics.
Yes.
Please continue.
Please do.
We need you.
All the topics.
We're not this creative. We need you to keep coming up with topics. If you like what we do here elsewhere on the Misdirected Mark Network, please consider supporting our Patreon campaign. Our Patreon campaign does actually keep everything running, from equipment to hosting costs to disk space, all of those things, including hosts. It helps immensely. If you're able to do it, we appreciate it. And in these hard times, if you're not able to do it for a while or need to step back, of course, we totally understand that. And, we hope that you can patron. And if you can, there's some great benefits to patroning the show. The bonus outtakes from the show, the after show from Misdirected Mark, the access to our Slack room for life, which is a fantastic community, especially in these times. We're even having luncheons on Fridays where I'm hosting a big Zoom meeting for people to just come and have lunch and hang out and connect as a way to stay connected during these times. And we also like to shout out to our patrons. Normally, we pick a few patrons at random from our list and shout out to them. But for our anniversary episode, we are shouting out to all of our patrons, past and present and future.
Y'all are amazing.
So at some point, if somebody goes back and binges this,
you're included.
You're included. Like, we are shouting out to all patrons.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you immensely. Senda, there's another thing people can do in order to support our If You Hear Us, You Will Love Us marketing campaign. What is that thing? You can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really does actually help new people find the show. And we are 200 episodes in, so there's a lot. But also they could start wherever and, outtakes and stuff. So anyway, thank you very, very much to everybody who's already left a review. We super duper appreciate them. If you leave it somewhere that we won't see it, let us know so we can see it, because they make us super duper happy. Anyway, say, Phil, show me how you are going to manage the stress of running all of these online campaigns. This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs. Show me what you got, show me what you got, show me what you got, show me what you got.
Show me what you got, show me what you got, show me what you got.
Well, now I have to remember what I said. Oh, biochemical determination of Eros.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Nice way to jam that in there.
Tony helped with that one. That was good.
He's good with that.
Yes.
I'm eating
he's
chocolate.
Very good. Mm-hmm. See, you're eating chocolate, and we should have had like our little like feel-good snack check-in, except that my candied ginger didn't even make it until you got on the phone. I mean, I sort of tried for about 30 seconds. I have no self-control when it comes to candied ginger. My self-control was that I only took out like 3 bits, put them in a bowl, and then put that bowl in front of me instead of just bringing the whole plastic container.
Yeah.
And then just eating all of the rest of it.
It's important at conventions that you actually pre-bag your candied ginger off into snack packages.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just like, wow.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Candied ginger is amazing. I also love candied ginger. We've talked about that. I think we talked about that last week, but you must have had a bag last week.
At some point. Bloop. Usually my limiting factor is that I buy it. So I can get it in bulk from my grocery store, right? So that's the dangerous thing, is that I can get it in bulk. So I can go, but what I do is I go and I just get like a little bit, right? Like just a little bit. The problem is that right now, because of the coronavirus, they're not doing bag your own bulk. They still have the bulk stuff. Yeah, which I totally appreciate. They still have the bulk stuff, but what they've done is they've pre-bagged it and tagged it. So all the bags are like the same size. Mm-hmm. So I can only go and get like half a pound now. And I usually go and get like a day's worth. I get like 10 pieces. And so I came home with like a big old bag of candied ginger. And I was like, I never buy this much. This is dangerous. So I put it in a Tupperware, and I've been like trying to limit myself to like 5 pieces a day.
What you should have done was taken those obnoxious tall snack bags.
Oh God, those things are so annoying. I put seeds in them though. I'm almost out. I've almost succeeded in using them up. Bloop.
I'm eating more Choco Love.
You should, as you should.
Dark chocolate orange. Although I was very scared when I went to Wegmans last week. Yeah. There were very few Choco Love bars left. There were other chocolate bars, and I'll get into those.
It's fine. You tell me what other chocolate bars there are, and if there are brands that I am familiar with, I can make recommendations.
I will tell you that one of them was chocolate and bacon. Nope, don't have that face because I've had it before, and it's amazing. And second of all, bacon is a feature, not a bug.
Are you sure though?
I'm very sure.
Okay.
You are, listen, in the many things that you are right on, not eating bacon
is not one of them.
Not eating bacon is one of the most wrong things.
Bloop. Oh no. Okay, I just noticed that my hair is starting to reach the point.
I know, we didn't even talk about my pandemic cut.
God. Yeah, you got your pandemic cut.
It's short.
You're like, it's definitely short. It's shorter than usual, but it's like all cleaned up and put together now.
Oh, I gotta tell you.
Mine is starting to hit it's touching the back of my neck. I'm going to.
I gotta tell you, it was not it was a leap of faith to just jump right in and just let those clippers like.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I didn't have a larger guide. So I wanted to do a 10.
Yep, but you didn't have a 10.
So I only had the 8. Now I do a 4 on the side, like always. So I was going to do a 4, 6, 10. Mm-hmm. But I wound up doing a 4, an 8 on top, a 4 around the ears and back, and then a 6 to blend it in.
Yep.
Which works, right? It's short. Yeah. It's a little shorter than I normally keep my hair, but it is short again. Like it is short.
It's short again. And it'll grow back.
Yeah, it'll definitely grow back.
Like you'll either do it again, or by then the haircut places will be open again.
Yeah. I don't know. Our governor announced that we are going to remain in what they're calling the pause, New York pause. We are paused until the 29th of April. Yeah,
Denver is paused officially until the 30th, although the state So the governor just announced today that our statewide stay-at-home is in effect until April 26th at the moment, and then could be extended or shortened depending on the results that we are seeing, right?
Yeah. So we're just like,
Although, so I went to Target today, which made me sad because I tried to do enough shopping last Friday that I would not have to go out at all. And then I was like, shit, I only have 3 cans of cat food. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to Target, then like I'm going to buy more fresh produce and stuff and milk and yada, yada, yada. So I did that. And like now, hopefully I will not leave the house for, 10 to 14 days. Well, I mean, to go to a public space like that. But I was very impressed and happy about the number of people who are wearing masks at Target.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very good.
So I'm going to segue, and I want to play off of one word in that in our past sentence about soft cheeses. I'd like to just extract the word soft.
Right. We haven't talked about soft and hard pants yet, and we're already 12 minutes in.
Correct. So we need to have this talk. So
we promised them. We promised.
Yes, I'm going to pull the word soft out of that sentence.
Oh man.
And having kind of talked a little bit about our coping mechanisms for the lockdown, let's just talk for a moment about soft and hard pants, right? This started as a thing on Twitter that I take no credit for this. I saw it on Twitter, but I have fully embraced this terminology.
It's good terminology, yeah.
So I have been, since I've been working from home for the last 4 weeks, I have broke from my normal uniform of jeans polo, right?
Yep.
And I'm going around the house in sweatpants and t-shirts with a zip-up sweatshirt over it for conferences, like video conferences and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, I don't have I don't have sweatpants like you would think of in terms of going to the gym sweatpants, right? The sweatpants I have are from when I broke my arm and I could not button pants, right?
Yep.
I could not use my left hand to button pants, and I needed pants. So they're sweatpants, right? In the fact that they're made of that sweatpant material, and they have a tie and things like that, but they have actual real pockets that actually fit. Like I can put my whole phone in my pocket, right? My iPhone, like my XS Max, goes all the way in the pocket. And then
whatever, there's not a single pair of pants a woman could imagine
that could hold
10S.
Yes. And then on top of that, they have cargo pockets on the side. Right? Which when my arm was broken was super helpful because I could actually put things in multiple pockets. So anyway, and then they're straight legged, right? They don't gather at the,
they don't have the bad ankle.
And they don't have the bad, the traditional sweatpant ankle thing. So they're just they're just pants, right? But when I saw that thing on Twitter, or I think Twitter was Facebook, I don't remember which one, when they called them soft pants, I was like, oh my God, they're soft pants. And they're so comfortable. Last week when I went grocery shopping, I put my jeans on and I was like, oh shit, son, these are not as comfortable as
hard pants.
And I have really comfortable jeans. I have these Old Navy jeans. They aren't expensive or anything, but they're super comfortable, and they were, a little bit on the loose side because I'm a bigger dude, right? But I put them on and I was like, oh, these are hard pants. And my biggest challenge when we return to the office is going to be saying goodbye to my soft pants.
Soft pants. I know. The funny thing that's happened to me is I don't wear petticoats around my house.
Right.
I don't wear petticoats around my house, mostly because I don't want to sit on them and flatten them.
Sure.
And all of those things, which I'm if I'm going to be around the house, I'm just sitting on my butt a bunch. And then because I'm home all the time, and so I'm I can do laundry whenever. I have thus proceeded to do laundry never. for like a couple weeks.
I mean, you're
there,
doing
and
laundry. Like
I'm doing laundry. Like I'm catching up now, but there was a couple of weeks there that I was like, well, I can just do it tomorrow for like 2.5 weeks. And then I was like, I have no more leggings because I was wearing leggings around the house as my soft pants. And I was like, well, now what do I do? Because I can't wear leggings and skirts because I have no more leggings. And then I was like, I've discovered my treasure trove hoard of yoga pants that I completely forgot that I had. And I was like, oh, yoga pants, how I love you.
So you also have soft pants.
I so have soft pants, but to be clear, yoga pants do not have pockets.
No.
I think I now, for actual pant purposes, for soft pant purposes, I prefer my yoga pants to my leggings.
I think that makes sense.
Yoga pants are great. They stay up really nicely because they're meant for like
to
athletics.
Not slide down, right?
Yep. And they like, you can sit cross-legged in all sorts of ways.
Right, they're
and
stretchy
stuff.
and all
bendy, stretchy. They don't rip.
Yeah, I mean, you can't sit in a chair normal anyway. So
Nope. I can't.
Right.
You're right. Correct.
So
yes.
yeah, they're necessary
for multiple reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the great challenge I'm going to have is not to show up at work on the first day
in soft pants.
In soft pants. Like, I have not worn a polo in 4 weeks. Right? Like, the last time I wore a polo was the day I was heading to the office when they recalled us all to go home because of the from a potential scare. And I haven't been back to the office since, and I haven't worn a polo or an undershirt. I'm literally just like, I've tapped all my geek t-shirts and like I've been wearing my Scotty vest hoodie, which is like my light hoodie. I've been wearing it all day at work and I've been good about it. Like, I keep throwing it in the wash and stuff like that. But like, that's my uniform. Like, I get up in the morning and I put on my sweatpants. I throw on a geek t-shirt. I grab my Scotty off the back of my office chair, put it on, sit down, log in. And that's me ready to go. All right, we need to go make a show.
We really need to start because we're 20 minutes in.
I know, we need to make a show. I'm so sorry. If you want to cut some of the outtakes at the beginning or something, like where it wasn't
I still have to listen to them. It doesn't matter.
All right, I know. I always try to say that. Like, it's not so bad. You can skip over it, but you can't.
You can skip over it, but I can't because I don't know where the good stuff is or not.
Right.
So
what you should do is just have a piece of paper and note those numbers.
No, but we said funny things at the beginning too. Okay, anyway, moving right along.
Anyway, you ready to do this?
Meow.
Meow. Bloop. Cue music.
I'm sorry, I went off the script rails there on you.
I was just winging it. We're professionals.
Look, I have this lovely sign over here.
I do too. Mine's right over there.
Yeah. Well, on Bone, Stone, and Obsidian, Wayne and Robert take monthly deep dives into the dark.
Yeah. Show me how you're going to manage the stress of editing this thing in 1 week.
Oh, boy.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
Hey, we're going to have to run because it's 56 minutes and Senda's going to cry anime tears. Bye, everyone. Bye.